The assassination of Jon Snow was, obviously the climax of season 5. And this season we wanted to start right where we left off. I think it's the first time we've done that.
So many people have ended up dead when the credits rolled that we've thought that if you let it breathe for long enough and you let him just sit there for long enough, it might stir the bit of doubt in people as to whether or not someone they loved failed to triumph over the ultimate adversity.
All the chatter about, is Jon Snow really dead? And certainly I was asked that repeatedly by all my friends with the same answer, I could tell you, but they'll kill me.
Jon Snow is dead.
It was exciting for me because I didn't know I'd be coming back at a certain point, I was told, but I didn't know how.
He even had to hold a speech, like I'm leaving the show speech last year.
He got up and gave us a big hug. I was like, nah, you're a better actor than that.
I'm just glad to have my friend back.
Jon's rebirth was a really big moment. There's a lot of anticipation for it, not just from the previous season, but even when the season starts, because it's not resolved in episode 1, it's resolved in episode 2, which I think was very clever.
I really enjoyed working with Jeremy last year, and the sad thing about this year was for both of his episodes, I was a corpse.
One of the things that I wanted to do was do something a little bit similar to what we did with Arya and the corpse washing montage that we did last season. Cleaning him is a kind of a slow process ritual over a body. I knew that it was something that Dan and David really liked. So that was a bit of a model for me to kind of do something similar to that, but different.
I remember I fell asleep during one of the scenes and woke up with Ben Crompton's face over me, and I was like, oh, how did that? And then they went, can you shut your eyes again?
En persis, en kier persis, en morchot gleison.
When Jon needs to be brought back to life, she doesn't think she can do it. She's completely defeated. And she was in a lot of doubt, I think, and it's the first time we've ever seen her doubtful.
The great victory I saw in the flames, all of it was a lie.
We see a more human side of Melisandre this year because she's kind of been proven wrong and her confidence is shattered.
She knows that Jon is important. She felt that before. And now in the Lord of Light, by bringing Jon back, proved it.
We talked about how sometimes go on long international flights and you get really bad jet lag and you wake up and you know where you are, sort of, but you don't know where you are. And I said, so let's start there.
The only reference point I have to someone being brought back from the dead is Beric Dondarrion, and he says to Arya,
every time I come back, I'm a bit less. Pieces of you get chipped away.
This kind of resurrection is not a joyous thing. I think that's absolutely the case with Jon.
It's time.
Jon's last act as Lord Commander is to execute the men who murdered him.
The main thing that we focused on was how he would deal with the execution of Ollie. And I had remembered watching the pilot where Ned Stark executes this Brothers from the Night's Watch, and he made sure that all his sons watched this.
Don't look away. Father will know if you do.
He made a point of saying that if you're going to take a man's life, you can't avert your eyes. And so my notion is that when Jon cut the rope, he had to watch Ollie die.
It's killing a child, and that's what really destroys him. But I think for that moment, he walks up to the rope. It's that little bit of darkness that overtakes him, that fury. And I think that's in the moment he thinks he can't do it, and then this memory of being stabbed in the heart overtakes him.
Don't mess with Jon Snow.
When they rigged it up, the first time you have to do a test run. Once your hands are tied behind your back, there's nothing you can do. You're trusting the team. And this is the best team I've ever worked with, so let's go. But there is a moment of, no, wait, whoa.
I've got a really tight harness under here and a hook. Not much tension on the noose. It's on a bungee cord. It's super safe. It's not as risky as I thought it was going to be. I had an amazing 3 years. I auditioned for a one-scene part, and to get 3 series off the back of that, I just can't believe how lucky I've been to even experience this.
I think for Sir Alistair that he made peace with his maker a long time ago. He believes more in the watch. It's his sense of being to him more than any personal ego now. It's always been a fight.
I fought. I lost. Now I rest.
You have Casablanca.
In that moment where he hands the cloak to Dolores Head, there's no doubt in his mind that this is the right thing to do, is to leave the Night's Watch. There's no turning back once he kills Ollie.
He's fulfilled his vows. He swore to serve the Night's Watch until his death. He died. He is now releasing those bonds. He wants to go off and seek his fortune in the world.
My watch is ended.
I firmly believe that Jon Snow did die at the end of season 5. This character's something else.
He's more haunted. He's seen what lies after death, which is nothing.
A little bit of bad has entered him, a little bit of evil. I'm back, but something's gone.
The sequence when the White Walkers and the Whites attack the cave of the Three-Eyed Raven was an incredibly complicated sequence to figure out.
I knew that it was going to be a lot of stunts, a lot of CGI. How were we going to do it?
It's all the different departments coming together to create this nightmare scenario. So you've got the stunt team with the various fights. You've got the special effects team with the fires. You've got the visual effects with the Whites crawling on the ceiling.
It's a lot of different elements in play.
My goal was to make it realistic, make it terrifying, and make Hodor's sacrifice incredibly moving.
The Three-Eyed Raven Cave we first established at the end of season 4. It was very difficult to shoot in, but we only had a 2-day shoot.
It had been designed for, the actors to escape to, and then we cut away, so it wasn't very stunt-friendly at all. So we kind of had to sort of pull it all apart, create new tunnels.
And for this year, we had to have a secret exit for the cave just to follow the ending of that episode and the storyline that goes with that.
The children of the forest are basically in a very thin prosthetic, so we had to try and make the floor a bit friendlier for that, because obviously we're gonna kill them and throw them on the floor and things like that. But it's very small. It was very clubby filming in there. It was a bit of a mission.
If there's going to be an actor going by an explosion at night, we better see the effect of that light on him. The children of the forest have these round grenades that have been established in the show. They had designed these flat panels of light that the actors and extras would walk by, and explosion 1, and the light would light up from the ground. So the interactive light would hit. Then we did a pass with just the explosions. Then we did a pass with just them and stunt guys reacting. We shot many cold nights out of Magamorn to do all that stuff.
When we do explosions inside a small contained set, you've always got to worry about air expansion. We're working with this system that's actually igniting dust. What we ended up using was cork dust and charcoal dust. Fired out of an air mortar in front of a flame, ignites into a lovely fireball. And it was off a Leaf's grenade explosion in the tunnel. It's such a confined little space. You do your explosion passes, there's no one there. Action! And then you do your passes where you've got people there, but they need to have interaction. Go! You put that shot and then the previous shot of explosion, and you've got everything you need.
At any one time during the cave, we had so many characters which were going to be in prosthetics. We had the Night King, 3 White Walkers, 6 Children of the Forest, including the hero Leaf, and countless Whites.
Anytime we create a creature is very difficult.
The Children of the Forest are fully covered from head to toe. They're glued completely into these prosthetics all over their body.
It took so long to get the Children of the Forest in their brilliant makeup and costumes. It was really challenging.
If I were to do a full body prosthetic, I'll get picked up at midnight and then I'll be on set by 10 a.m. So it takes about 9-10 hours. I didn't realize it's going to result to 9.5 hours of makeup.
It is an extraordinary thing that we ask of them, but then you see them all made up and it's like, okay, that was worth it. They're, you know, they're incredible.
Ready? Here we go. Action!
The cave sequence this year is kind of like a chase sequence. We've got Hodor and Mira and Bran on the run through the escape tunnel. They're being chased by skeletal and half-dead whites. And not only on the ground, they're also being chased on the ceiling.
There's an image that Dan and David and Jack were very, very keen on, but just to get it as crazy and as terrifying as we could, the whites are not only running on the floor, but they're crawling on the walls, they're crawling on the ceiling. So we worked with the art department to build an inverted walls and ceiling section of the tunnel.
It took a lot of interdepartmental planning to get that right.
We had to leave room with green screen when we were shooting, frame-wise, to have them crawling on the ceiling.
Our great stunt team put their heads together on how to suspend the white stunt performers. So it's a bungee rig. They can cross over each other. They can pile onto each other.
They're going to be everywhere. That's something that's going to end up, I hope, being really creepy.
There's a door between these whites and between Mira and Bran getting away. That's when I'm told to hold the door, which turns into Hodor, and it was just like a genius.
George told us about this, that hold the door was the origin of the name Hodor.
And I just remember Dan and I looking at each other when he said that, and just being like, holy shit.
The intensity of the moment for Hodor, his own death moment, finding its way back through time, is short-circuiting young Willis and turning him into Hodor.
It's one of those things that, you know, didn't ever occur to me before he told us that, and then it all makes sense.
We just thought that was a really, really cool, kind of heartbreaking idea.
The big climactic cave sequence was hugely complex, and although it's very scary that this really terrifying thing is happening to our characters, at the end of the day, I think the emotion or what we're experiencing is hopefully going to be the shock that people will stay with.
Oh, it's mortifying. It's so sad.
I had the call. I knew what was going to happen to Hodor, but when I got the script, it was a really difficult scene to read.
Hodor was just, as we know, a totally normal kid who was then sort of screwed over by Bran. It's going to break people's hearts.
When I first read the script and I read the section about Hodor and how he got his name and what happens, that was a really cool and totally unexpected thing for me. I didn't think that we'd ever even find out.
It's definitely a sad moment, but I like what he's done, that he sacrificed himself for his friends. That feels very true to Hodor for me, but it's really sad.
That's a series wrap shot for Mr. Hodor.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to Westeros, where the fight for the kingdom is on. Anyone can die.
I choose violence.
Where great families live and die for the Iron Throne.
They're all weaving these tangled webs.
Some are noble.
Jon Snow's everybody's hero.
Some are not.
If you're going to be bad, be really bad.
I won my crown! So many kings and queens in waiting.
It's about power and greed.
But an icy foe may well defeat them all.
When's it start?
Season 7 is coming, and so are the dragons. So let's burn through the epic saga to date.
This is what Game of Thrones does. It sucks you in.
With Game of Thrones, the story so far.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground.
As Season 1 opens, it's the calm before the storm. King Robert Baratheon rules from the capital, King's Landing, but his days are numbered.
To be king in Westeros, you sit on the Iron Throne in King's Landing and you're ruling over the 7 kingdoms.
Start the damn joust before I piss myself.
He is locked in a loveless marriage and only chose his queen for her family's name to hold his kingdom together.
I'm very sympathetic to Cersei. She was completely in love with him. She was in awe of him almost. and he turned into this almost semi-abusive drunk.
Sometimes I don't know what holds it together.
Our marriage.
This unhappy couple have 3 golden-haired children to their name. But Cersei keeps a deadly secret from Robert. The children are not his. The truth will be discovered on a royal trip north, and it's here that our story really begins. The king has asked his old ally Ned Stark to help him rule. Ned and his wife Catelyn govern the north, fiercely loyal to the crown.
The Starks stand for loyalty, integrity, bravery. They are really the moral compass of the show. They're the good guys, and they're the ones that you find yourself rooting for from the start.
The couple have 5 children, 3 sons and 2 daughters, and the decimation of this happy family will reverberate throughout our tale.
They're almost too innocent for that world.
King Robert arrives with his queen, Cersei, and with them is the whole Lannister clan.
That's Jaime Lannister, the Queen's twin brother.
Oh, the Lannisters. They're blonde, they're beautiful, they're arrogant. So fuck them.
And it's really the Lannisters who are going to introduce a lot of trouble into the lives of the Starks from this point.
The arrival of the Lannisters into that world totally sends shockwaves through the whole family.
Bran Stark goes climbing one day, gets to the top of a tower, and discovers the Lannisters' deep, dark secret. The secret is that Cersei, the queen, is actually sleeping with her brother, Jaime.
The Lannisters, oh God! They are... I have never seen a family. I mean, talk about dysfunctional. Stop! Stop!
It's incest, which even in Westeros is generally frowned upon. It also means that King Robert's children are not actually his children.
It's all right, it's all right.
He saw us!
I heard you the first time.
He knows what it means, too, and he knows that if the incest is discovered, not only will he and his sister be put to death, but their 3 children may very well, too.
And so, for Jaime Lannister, the greatest swordsman in Westeros, there's only one solution.
The things I do for love.
Here's a convenient way. The kid will die, it'll look like he fell, and our kids will be safe.
First in a coma, Bran will later awake with no memory of how he fell or what he saw. The royal secret is safe for now, and only the viewer has seen what the Lannisters will do to keep it.
Everything went pear-shaped after that, and really, that's the whole chain of events starting.
King Robert still wants Ned down in the capital, so this will be the last ever time we see the Stark family all together. A family which includes Ned's son out of wedlock, the bastard Jon Snow. Ned must now leave his family and follow King Robert south, taking his daughters Sansa and Arya with him.
The reason I think that the first season of Game of Thrones works is it's essentially about this good family that just wants to essentially be left alone and serve their king and their country. This good family is ripped apart and thrown into situations that they never anticipated.
They are bound for the capital, King's Landing, where Ned's new task will be to protect King Robert from those who would unseat him. And in Season 1, viewers learn the greatest enemies live in exile overseas, the Targaryens.
They were dethroned by King Robert in the last war. The only surviving members of the family are a brother and sister called Viserys and Daenerys.
The siblings are the children of the Mad King, who was killed in war. Viserys dominates his younger sister.
Viserys has more than a touch of the Targaryen madness, and you know, sometimes he's protecting her, but he's also trying to treat her as a bargaining chip.
Come forward, my dear.
In search of an army, Viserys makes a pact with a savage tribe, the Dothraki, offering his beautiful young sister in marriage to their leader, Khal Drogo.
She's the only bargaining chip he has. He doesn't have any wealth anymore. He doesn't have any armies, but he has her, who he can trade to this horse lord.
I would let his whole tribe fuck you. All 40,000 men and their horses too, if that's what it took.
He's power hungry, but to a nasty degree. Doesn't really care how or by what means. He just wants to be important and looked up to.
But his plans backfire. Daenerys and Khal Drogo fall in love and become quite the power couple.
Suddenly she finds herself with Khal Drogo empowered. People are obeying her.
tell him I want what was bargained for, or I'm taking you back.
He just completely underestimates not only Danny, but Khal Drogo.
What's he saying?
He says yes. You shall have a golden crown.
It's a real coming-of-age story throughout the first season. She really grows into herself.
Look away, Khaleesi.
No.
This is one of the turning points for Daenerys. I think this is when you realize that she's prepared to sacrifice anything for the greater good.
A crown for a king.
He was revolting. He was utterly, utterly revolting. And that was the moment that she escaped from her shell, when she became the woman and not the kowtowed girl.
And as the Targaryens grow in power, we learn that King Robert faces another challenge to his northernmost borders. Threats which led past rulers to build this giant wall of ice to keep out wild things beyond. It's protected by the legendary Night's Watch.
The Night's Watch are a small army who guard the northern border of the country. In season 1, there's lots of fighting for the throne, but actually in the background there are these creatures appearing north of the wall that nobody has seen for thousands of years. And no one quite wants to believe that they're there, but they certainly are.
We hear the characters saying that this is all folklore, that this is all made up. But for the viewer, we see that basically these characters do exist. They are there. I think the White Walkers are really terrifying, mostly because you're not 100% sure you know what they're capable of doing or what their motives are.
They are a serious threat.
In season 1, in search of a purpose, Jon Snow ventures to the Wall and joins the Night's Watch, a leader in the making.
Jon Snow's everybody's hero. Jon Snow's one of my favourite characters. He's the dude.
He's also in search of answers.
The question of Jon Snow's parentage has been one of the burning topics amongst not only the show fans, the book fans, for many decades.
Jon Snow is Ned Stark's bastard son. He brought him back from a war, and we never really learn who the mother is. Understandably, Catelyn, Ned's wife, isn't too fond of Jon for that reason.
Try as she may, she could never make peace with that, with the fact that Ned was unfaithful.
But down in the capital, King's Landing, Ned Stark has a much greater challenge to face. His daughter has fallen for Prince Joffrey.
She's presented with marrying the future king, live in a beautiful castle, go to banquets, have beautiful dresses to wear, a fairy tale story.
Ned has discovered the Queen and her brother are lovers, and this will be his family's undoing.
When the king returns from his hunt, I'll tell him the truth. You must be gone by then. You and your children. I will not have their blood on my hands.
But before he gets a chance to talk to King Robert gets himself killed on a hunting trip.
Joffrey is now king, and without Robert to protect him, Ned is tried for treason. He confesses, believing it will save his daughter, but misjudges the new ruler.
He's just been stuck up in the north too long and has no idea how the real world operates, how to really deal with the politics of Westeros.
Bring me his head.
That's when you realize nobody is safe in this world at all.
When I saw Sean being pushed down, that was the only scene that really has brought a tear to my eye.
It's cruel, it's heartbreaking, but there's a point to the children witnessing this. If they want to survive, they have to start to be resilient. They have to learn from this.
It was at that moment you realised what Game of Thrones was really about.
It's here that the Stark family splinters. Arya is whisked away by a Night's Watch brother loyal to Ned, leaving Sansa at the mercy of Joffrey.
Robb Stark reacts with murderous rage to the news that his father has been beheaded.
Robb is the heir, and he's not only picking up his father's mantle as Lord of Winterfell, but he's picking up a much older mantle, the crown that no one has worn for 300 years, the Kingdom of the North.
It will lead to all-out war between the Starks and the Lannisters, who are led by its patriarch, Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister is one of the great warriors and battle strategists of the age.
As well as his twins, Cersei and Jaime, he has a son he despises, Tyrion, known as the Imp.
You're wounded.
Good of you to notice.
Tyrion, obviously, is just brilliant.
I hear we won.
Stereotypes of what a hero should be or should look like in Game of Thrones are just completely blown out the window because we've got Tyrion who, you know, doesn't look like your archetypal hero, but he is.
As war rages in Westeros, over the narrow sea, Daenerys loses a husband, but gains astonishing new powers. She walks into Khal Drogo's funeral pyre with fossilized dragon's eggs.
Ugh, what an epic scene.
Season 1 ends with the sight of Daenerys emerging from a fire unscathed with her dragons hatched.
These creatures are extraordinary creatures, the likes of which have not been seen in hundreds of years.
Blood of my blood. You see these three dragons around her and you're just like, okay, they're gonna be awesome when they're grown.
The innocence is gone. She's it. And she's the Force now.
As the dragons are born, she comes more and more to her own until the power becomes innate to her.
It's about a new era. The whole first season is essentially the old era dying out and the new era beginning. And by the end, she has a sense that she knows that she's bound for greatness.
And after the break, watch those dragons grow in Season 2. Welcome back to Game of Thrones, the story so far, where Season 2 marks a new reign of tyranny in the capital, King's Landing. Joffrey is brutalizing his subjects, as well as his bride-to-be, Sansa Stark.
You can't. What did you say?
Sansa has learned some painful lessons along the way. The chivalrous knights and gallant princes that she dreamed of. She got a gallant prince, and he turned out to be Joffrey.
Killing you would send your brother a message.
She's a prisoner in the worst place imaginable, enduring all kinds of psychological and sometimes physical abuse from these captors.
Leave her face. I like her pretty.
He's a bully, and we don't like bullies.
I had a disgusting lie about Uncle Jamie. And you?
He's the product of a brother and sister shagging. So, like, you know, this might be why he isn't all there mentally.
Cersei's smart enough to realize that Joffrey is perhaps not what she might have hoped for. He's getting out of her control now, and he's a danger, in part, even to her and even to other members of the family.
What you just did is punishable by death.
Joffrey's enemies are everywhere. Chief amongst them, and just across the bay at Dragonstone, is Stannis, brother of the late King Robert, who believes the throne should be his. Stannis has learnt that Robert's children are Lannister bastards, which means that it is Stannis who is next in line.
So Stannis Baratheon, who knows that King Joffrey is a product of incest, decides to send ravens out to all the corners of the Seven Kingdoms, letting them know the Lannister secret.
In order to claim the throne, Stannis enlists the Red Priestess, Melisandre, who is on her own mission to find the right ruler for Westeros.
She believes Stannis is the savior of the worlds, basically. He's supposed to be on the Iron Throne. And her magical powers have no limits, I think. There's so much that we don't know that she can do.
However, Stannis isn't the only one after the throne. His younger brother Renly also believes he has a claim, and so war is inevitable.
The Iron Throne is mine, by right. All those that deny that are my foes.
The whole realm denies it from dawn to the wall.
They both think they should be king, but I'm on Stannis' side, so screw Renly.
Rather than fight it out on the battlefield, Stannis finds another way to kill his brother, because family ties don't mean an awful lot in Westeros.
The powerful sorcery of the Red Priestess is revealed when she gives birth to a sinister weapon.
The Shadow Baby is basically just a way to kill Renly, and it comes out of me in a great way.
I
think Melisandre, she's always lived by this religion. If she's got something to do, she's going to do it, and she's not going to let other people stand in her way.
What I think's brilliant about Game of Thrones is it lives in a fantasy world, but it's a completely realistic depiction of how power works. What power does to people, what people do to get power, and what happens when they fall short, when they miss the mark. And that's why it's so brilliant.
When Renly is murdered, it leaves behind his widow, Marjorie Tyrell, who belongs to the Tyrell family, who are very rich and powerful in their own right.
Calling yourself king doesn't make you one. And if Renly wasn't a king, I wasn't a queen.
Marjorie is an absolute piece of work. You know, she wants power.
Do you want to be a queen?
No. I want to be the queen.
Across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen is learning valuable lessons in her quest to return to Westeros and seize the throne.
She is desperate to be a good ruler, that she can, you know, go to bed at night saying, I think I'm doing things the right way.
As Daenerys' power grows, so do her dragons. But as news of their existence spreads, they become highly sought after.
When she's in Qarth, everybody just kind of thinks, like, who are you? We'll just take your dragons. We'll take your dragons and you're not powerful anymore.
Dracarys.
People have underestimated her the whole way.
And it is in season 2 that we finally see the dragons kill for Daenerys. As Daenerys gets stronger in exile, Jon Snow and the Night's Watch are on a mission beyond the Wall, where the true scale of the threat to the kingdom is revealed.
Blow the horn. When will he come?
The army of the dead is on its way, and it's going to kick off sooner or later, and really, you know, they've got to get out of there as fast as they possibly can.
1 blast for friends. 2 for foes. And 3 for White Walkers.
The threat of winter coming is very much a myth to the people of the South. They're not really taking it seriously. They don't know about the undead and all the horrors that are coming towards them.
3 blasts.
So what we learn in season 2 is that the White Walkers are very much real.
They're nothing like we've ever seen before in television. They're not just zombies, they're not just statues, they're walking ice cubes, basically. They're really bad and they're really scary. And it's literally, I think it's going to be a fight of ice and fire.
We have all these kingdoms wanting to fight for the throne, and they think that that is what ultimately the battle is about. But really, at the end of the day, they're not looking at what's the real problem here, and it's the White Walkers.
And it's in season 2 in King's Landing where we see that Tyrion may just be an asset to the war, when Stannis launches an attack on the city.
I'll lead the attack!
Battle of Blackwater was his moment. He was the best person to speak to the people of King's Landing and to get them to protect their city. Because he knows what it's like to fight. He knows what it's like to have your back up against the wall.
There's our brave men knocking at our door. Let's go kill them!
Tyrion manages to get the troops fired up by giving a good speech, and then heads out with them to fight Stannis on the bay. He doesn't last very long. He gets knocked out after a couple of minutes.
Tyrion is upstaged by his father, Tywin, who arrives with his own massive army, bolstered by the Tyrells, who've now firmly joined the cause.
It's that moment where you really see where power lies. It's not in the king. It's in the person behind the king.
The battle is over. We have won.
And so season 2 ends with the Lannisters victorious. After the break, season 3 brings more terrible losses for the Starks when they attend a cataclysmic wedding. Welcome back to the story so far, where, as season 3 begins, Daenerys has set sail on a mission. She and her dragons may have grown in power and stature, but securing an army still eludes her, so she ventures to a place where she can buy one.
She knows she needs an army, a powerful army, if she ever wants to reclaim the Westerosi throne. And the best bet for that are the Unsullied.
I have dragons. I'll give you one.
She appears to want to trade the dragon for slaves. She seems to have made this daft agreement to give away her best dragon. She hands over the dragon. Next thing you know, once she's got control of the Unsullied, then it's very easy to say to the dragon, who still will listen to her and not to him, burn him.
Dracarys.
Because you would take power if you have the force of a dragon. They're pretty impressive creatures.
She's been the mother of dragons, and you knew she was destined for greatness, but now she really is a queen with an army.
To then see that she has thousands of people on her team, and then you get like this swoop past. She's got these like fire-breathing mythical creatures that are just gonna tear shit up.
As this young Targaryen gains followers, in King's Landing, a young Tyrell is gaining influence. Marjorie has replaced Sansa in Joffrey's affections, a reward for her family's military support at Blackwater.
I imagine it must be so exciting to squeeze your finger here and watch something die over there.
Marjorie is a woman who's on top of her game. She's controlling where she's going. She's a proper feminist icon.
But the Tyrell's ambitions are not going down well with Cersei Lannister.
Olenna is the matriarch of the family, and she advises her granddaughter on how best to play the political game so that she might take power in King's Landing.
To make matters worse, her soulmate Jaime is a prisoner of war. He is held first by Brienne of Tarth, then both are captured by a northern faction.
Looks like your woman's getting the better of you.
This is all bundled up in when Jaime begins to start thinking about other people.
You're only making it worse.
His efforts to stop Brienne being raped are the beginning of that.
You know who she is, don't you?
It's good when those little bits of goodness come in those characters that are so devilish as well. Just to give you a little light in there.
Lord Selwyn would pay his daughter's weight in sapphires if she's returned to him.
I mean, of course, it being Game of Thrones, it doesn't get him anywhere. Another one of those Game of Thrones moments, which has so much more going on in it than just him losing his hand. He's the greatest swordsman in Westeros, we're told, so he can't do that anymore.
He's now made a good friend in her, and he's seen a lot of things, and I'm sure he's questioning what being a Lannister is about as well.
Yet without his hand, we see Jaime Lannister at his most heroic. The heartless knight who pushed Bran Stark from the tower finds new honor in Season 3.
He's left her behind, he's abandoned her, and he's on his way to King's Landing, and then his captors mention that what's going to happen to her. And then he decides to return and save her.
And it is in Season 3 that we witness the fearsome work of another powerful family, the Boltons, who are scheming to take control of the North.
I think the Boltons want pretty much what everyone else seems to want, is power and status.
Kill me!
You're no good to me, dead. We need you.
Ramsay, a bastard son of the family, enjoys torturing his enemies, including Theon Greyjoy, who he took prisoner when sacking Winterfell after Ned's demise.
Historically, the Boltons have always been just under the Starks, kind of. The Starks have always been on top of them, so I think they feel that now's their time to rise.
You don't look like a Theon Greyjoy anymore.
It's unbelievable what Ramsay's capable of doing to people.
Freak.
He's just all about the mind. He's all about making you doubt yourself. He's all about getting in there and making you insecure and making you feel like you can't go up against him.
Another hostage at large in Season 3 is Arya Stark, kidnapped by the Hound. The disgraced knight plans to find Arya's family and trade her for cash.
Remember what happens to children who run.
One of the great double acts of Game of Thrones is the Hound and Arya.
Don't kill him.
There's something so perversely magical about that pairing, sort of warped mentor-protege relationship that develops.
In his desire to claim a ransom, the Hound heads for the Twins, where he knows that Arya's mother and brother, Catelyn and Robb Stark, are attending a wedding. The Twins is a strategic river crossing controlled by the Frey family, and the Starks need them on side for their war effort.
Walder Frey is a very bitter, nasty old man who controls a small but significant area in the kingdom.
I was pledged to marry one of you, and I broke that vow.
If he's been let down by Robb Stark after this promise, if he shows any kind of forgiveness or just let it go, he didn't want to marry my daughter, he's married someone else, he would lose face in that world. It's a vicious world he's operating in.
The Stark family offer Robb's uncle to make amends and are here for that wedding. A terrible mistake.
Catelyn, in her heart, knew that you do not break a promise if you are the king of the North, and also you certainly don't break it to Walder Frey.
Your Grace.
He's probably laid awake for nights just planning it and timing it and working out just how it's going to work out.
In a moment where Cat sees that Roose Bolton is wearing chainmail is a powerful moment.
Why would you wear chainmail to your wedding? And what is the purpose of chainmail? It's to prevent you getting killed.
Even though I'd read the scripts, the Red Wedding still completely was shocking, and I was still screaming at the TV, don't do it, no, don't. You just don't want it to happen.
The Red Wedding is the event that pretty much decimates an entire generation of the Stark family.
Within the Game of Thrones, Walder Frey's not playing the Game of Thrones. He's not attempting to be the king. He's actually perfectly happy with what he's got. He has his own little fiefdom, and it was all sitting in the chair and watching terrible things.
He's a rotter, isn't he? He's absolutely rotten. Grim.
The Lannisters send their regards.
It is an ambush backed by Tywin Lannister.
Robb is such an amazing character. I think you kind of want him to be the king and to win.
It's the cruelty of it, and it's the relishing of it.
Everything goes to hell in the Red Wedding.
Arya Stark arrives at the Twins to witness her brother's desecrated body and loses any last shred of innocence.
She's there at the Red Wedding, she's outside. And she was so close. You know, she was so close to seeing them again. She was so close.
The path that she goes on, she learns to become stronger and fight. And also, she's after revenge.
And when she comes across her family's killers later,
Bullshit.
she matches their brutality.
She's had to go over to the dark side. That's what makes her interesting.
In order to survive in that world, you've got to match what is given you.
And so, by the end of season 3, all the elder Starks have gone from the Game of Thrones. Only the children remain, orphaned and scattered across Westeros, including Bran Stark, still paralysed from his fall. He's fled Winterfell with a loyal band of followers heading north.
So Hodor we know as a very loyal character.
It's all right, Hodor.
He lost the use of his legs, and Hodor's the person that carries him around and takes him everywhere, being the big giant of a man that he is.
It's all right. The walls will protect him.
Him and his brother Rickon are the two last male heirs to the Stark household. And yeah, it's fast depleting. We're running out of Starks.
Bran Stark is very much on his own journey to discover the root of this ancient magic that's reappearing in the kingdom throughout the seasons.
And yet, amid this loss comes a small victory. Unlikely hero Samwell Tarly stumbles on a weakness of the White Walkers. Samwell reaches for all he has to hand, an old dragon glass spear he once found in the ground.
To his astonishment, it works. The spells are shattered and it's melting before him.
And stay with us to see wedded bliss vanish after the break.
He's choking!
Welcome back to Game of Thrones, the story so far. where in season 4, a royal wedding in King's Landing unites two great houses of Westeros, the Tyrells and the Lannisters.
Marjorie and Joffrey's wedding is one of those weddings that we all have to go to where there's no love in the room.
The wedding brings another great family into the game, the Martells, represented by Prince Oberyn.
We're the hottest couple at the wedding. What else is there to say?
My lord, my lady.
Charm. He has a zest for life and all the beautiful things that the world has to offer. None of it is as beautiful as his own rage and taste for revenge.
Oberyn is seeking vengeance for his sister's brutal death at the hands of the Lannisters.
Rape and murder of women and children is considered distasteful.
Joffrey really uses the wedding as an excuse to be as horrible as he can.
Uncle, you can be my cupbearer.
He sees it as an opportunity to wield his power because he can. And you're dying for something to happen to him.
And so, when an unseen hand poisons the newlywed king...
Idiots, help your king! Move away!
It's the moment of retribution that the whole of the Seven Kingdoms have been waiting for.
I think everybody who watches Game of Thrones was hoping this day would come.
I wanted to kill him in such a way that the viewers were reminded that here's a 13-year-old boy who's dying.
Though it is actually the Tyrells that have poisoned Joffrey, it is Tyrion who is blamed.
This is really the point where Tyrion's fragile bonds with his family begin to unravel.
Take him! Take him! Take him!
In plot terms, the death of Joffrey is another shaking of the board where the pieces are scattered. And also, it's one of those things that elevate the whole series from merely a story into a saga.
As the royal family grows weaker, news from Westeros reaches Meereen, where Daenerys has conquered the city, but she is not yet ready to capitalize on her enemy's weakness.
King Joffrey Baratheon is dead. Murdered at his own wedding.
This would appear to be a really good time for her to finally make her play for the Iron Throne.
She has the dragons, and she has the army, and she has the strength of character.
But actually, she has new responsibilities now, and she has unfinished business where she is, and she's still trying to learn how to rule.
And to compound matters, her dragons have grown so big that Daenerys has started to lose control of them.
As they get bigger, as her power increases, the harder it is for her to manage. And that's where the story then has to go. All they're going to bring is complexity.
And when one of the dragons kills a child and abandons her, Daenerys is left with no other choice but to chain the other two.
She's just locked up her dragons, so can she unleash them again? And will they forgive her?
Without the mighty force of her dragons, Daenerys is faced with a dilemma as to what to do next.
She's definitely going through a sort of a dark night of the soul, I think, where she's trying to determine, have I got what it takes?
And so in season 4, as Daenerys remains in exile, across the narrow sea, Sansa Stark has fled the capital and taken refuge with her aunt Lysa, who has been seduced by an arch schemer.
Littlefinger's playing a very chaotic game, and he thrives on that.
Oh, my sweet wife.
For Littlefinger, it's all about getting power, I think, and using Lysa as a pawn along the way.
Sansa is witness to Lysa's murder and covers for Littlefinger.
Sansa's one of these poor characters who's been mistreated all through the series. She's seen a lot of horrible, horrible things happen, and she's never been able to take control, and this is the first time that actually she's got nothing else to lose.
When Sansa lied to protect Littlefinger, I cheered. I thought, thank God, girl.
He tried to reason with her, promised her she was the only one he had ever loved, but she stepped through those doors and she was...
What you discover is that she's been learning this entire time. She's been listening, she's been watching. She's been taking Littlefinger's lessons to heart.
So from one Stark protege to another, Sansa's sister Arya is still the Hound's hostage, but they're now on an equal footing.
Who would pass the bloody gate?
The bloody Hound.
Sander Clegane.
He's her captor, but he's also her protector. And, you know, she's seen his own pain and his own fear at times, and they've shared some dangerous situations.
But when the Hound is gravely injured in battle, Arya is forced to strike out on her own.
Fuck it. I'm ready.
Now he's wounded and he's dying, and she's remembering all he said about mercy, and he's asking for mercy. And by mercy, he means, you know, a quick thrust to kill him. And she doesn't give it to him.
Kill me.
She won't put him out of his misery. She won't give him the easy way out. She's going to leave him there to suffer.
Another wandering Stark is Arya's crippled brother Bran, who has made it north of the Wall in search of the three-eyed raven, who he believes will help him walk again, all the time aided by his loyal travelling companion, Hodor.
I think Hodor's been more than just Bran's legs. I think he means a lot to Bran. You know, someone to... He's always been there through absolutely everything, you know? Even though he can't speak, he can only say one word, he's always someone that's looking after them.
You know, in a world of evil, he's probably one of the only good ones.
Clearly, Bran is very important because he's trekked all the way up north to a cave where this raven has been summoning him for the past couple of seasons. And now he's in this cave with the three-eyed raven. Really, we're going to find out what the grand scheme of things is for Bran.
You'll never walk again. But you will fly.
His powers, he's getting stronger. And there's going to be some really exciting things happening. I think we're going to find out more and more about him.
At the Wall, the Night's Watch suffers a huge wildling attack at Castle Black. But in Season 4, they get a powerful new ally. Stannis Baratheon, who's been away licking his wounds after the Blackwater defeat, joins them with his vast army.
The Battle of the Blackwater was a huge and crushing defeat at the end of Season 2. And it's taken them basically 2 seasons to sort of rebuild from that.
And his arrival means that Jon Snow could have a new ally in the battle against the White Walkers beyond the Wall.
If my father had seen the things that I've seen, he'd also tell you to burn the dead before nightfall. All of them.
Season 4 draws to a mighty climax in King's Landing when the ultimate father and son showdown comes to a head. Tyrion is tried for murder.
I'm guilty of being a dwarf.
You're not on trial for being a dwarf.
Oh, yes I am. I've been on trial for that my entire life.
He's put on trial for a murder he doesn't commit. His father deserts him and betrays him.
I demand a trial by combat.
I mean, trial by combat, you can get someone to fight for your honour, so whether you're wrong or not, as long as they win the fight, that's what matters.
He names Oberyn Martell as his champion.
The one thing that he's ever lived for is to avenge his sister's death. And he knows that now that the opportunity is presenting itself, there's no question that he will get what he wants.
You killed her children!
And he does get what he wants by forcing a confession out of him. It's not exactly how he expected it.
I killed her children!
He still technically got what he wanted, you know?
Then I raped her! Then I smashed her head in like this!
But when Oberyn is defeated, Tyrion is sentenced to death.
In Westeros, the pursuit of justice is as futile as anything else.
Oh, get on with it, you son of a whore.
Is that any way to speak about her mother?
Tyrion is released from jail by his brother Jaime and told to go and board a ship and run away. Instead, he decides to check in on his father.
But it's his former lover, Shae, that he discovers in Tywin's bed.
Tyrion then kills Shae in a sort of fit of jealousy and then takes a crossbow and goes to find his father.
Tyrion, put down the crossbow.
It's so tightly wound, this scene.
This is someone who spent his whole life trying to win his approbation. As much as he hated him, he really wanted that, you know. Obviously, that's never going to happen now because he put a crossbow bolt in his groin.
What it means is when a big character like that goes, there's going to be a power vacuum and there's going to be hustling and jostling to get into his place.
I am the queen. I am the queen! Have you lost your mind?
Join us after the break, where in season 5, a new power rises in King's Landing. Welcome back to the story so far, where in season 5, a royal wedding unsettles Cersei. Her son, Tommen, is now king and has fallen under the spell of his new queen, Marjorie, much to Cersei's dismay.
When Marjorie come in his life, I think he was just enjoying life so much.
Judging from the king's enthusiasm, the queen mother will be a queen grandmother soon.
Wouldn't that be a lovely day?
Him being king was just a whole new excitement, a whole new life.
No.
Cersei empowers religious fanatics to help her topple her rival, Queen Marjorie.
You can't do this. I am the queen.
She brings back the faith militant because she's like, well, hopefully I can clear the board with these guys and regain some of my power.
But Cersei's engineered her own downfall. Royalty is no longer above the law, and fanatics come for her next.
There's another contender to power in Westeros, and it's religion. It's the power of the faith.
They want to remove all the excesses, to strip Cersei of all her finery, and encourage her, in inverted commas, to become clean.
A sinner comes before you. Watching Cersei do the Walk of Atonement, something happened that I thought would never happen. And that is I felt compassion. No matter what she'd done previously, she didn't deserve this.
And so season 5 sees her left naked before her subjects to atone for her infidelities.
The walk of shame was tough, was very, very tough for her. Very, very few women could have done what she did, complete that walk.
And you see her trying to maintain this regal presence, but she can't.
Stripped down to her literally, physically, and emotionally and psychologically, stripped down to her most vulnerable, and then swept up into the arms of the beast that she invited into the world.
The strange creation that is her new knight.
It's just a brilliant twist.
Also getting a new ally in season 5 is Daenerys, in the form of Tyrion. After killing his father, he's fled across the narrow sea, a fugitive on the run.
He was a Lannister, and he had all the money in the world. And a noble name and a big bag of gold can buy you a lot. All that's gone now. He's totally at the mercy of the people he's traveling with.
Who are you?
And then the unthinkable happens.
I am the gift.
He is captured and handed over to his family's greatest enemy, the Targaryen queen-in-waiting, Daenerys.
My name is Tyrion Lannister.
And between them, they are an extraordinary force.
Protect your queen!
She appoints him as her political advisor, but when a civil rebellion begins, Tyrion gets to witness Daenerys transform into a true Targaryen.
The symbol of the Targaryens coming to claim their power is on the back of a dragon, because, I mean, there's not much you can do when you're standing on the ground and a dragon's coming at you.
She's had the dragons now for quite a long time, but her actually becoming a dragon rider, that's her claiming her birthright, more than I think anything else we've seen her do, because that is how the Targaryens wielded their power.
Everybody painted that picture of Daenerys flying her dragon, and it never really happened. And they've waited so many years to see that, and she finally does, and she does it in a wicked way where she's escaping death.
Daenerys, she's got the greatest name ever. Stormborn, mother of dragons, Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen. I love that name. She's got these dragons as backup. And then she's got Tyrion, who knows King's Landing, who knows the political side of things. And he's been through battles as well.
Yet as season 5 ends, Daenerys' dragon delivers her to an uncertain fate.
The last thing we see of Daenerys season 5, she's surrounded by Dothrakis, back where she bloody started.
And season 5 is one of vengeance for Arya. The young Stark follows her mentor to Braavos to become an assassin.
To serve well, a girl must become noble.
Arya's relationship with Jaqen is fascinating. He is utterly mysterious, and she is seduced by his power.
I didn't come here to sweep floors.
No? Why come then?
You said I could be your apprentice.
The power of death, the power to choose who dies.
And Arya uses her new skills to slaughter Meryn Trant, a name on her kill list of people who've destroyed her world.
Arya, I think, has crossed the line. And if you look back to season 1, what would Ned Stark think of Arya's actions? Is that what he would want for his daughter? There is a sense of vengeance rather than a sense of justice.
As Arya explores vengeance, back home the battle is on for the Stark family home. Stannis Baratheon is marching on Winterfell, now held by the Boltons.
But sometimes sacrifices must be made to ensure victory.
He's going after something and it's increasingly futile.
In a desperate move, Stannis follows the advice of the Red Priestess, who promises him victory if he makes an unspeakable offering to the Lord of Light.
She managed to convince him to burn his own daughter.
That's one of the most chilling scenes, I think, of season 5. When he burns his child.
She's believed in this god for so many years that I think that if it's not to do with the god, she kind of just blocks everything out. And I think that's what happened, is she blocked out the fact that she was going to be sacrificing a child. She was sacrificing the king's blood.
Melisandre really thought that Stannis would be the one, and, you know, she's put a lot of her heart and soul and everything else into helping him.
But it proves to be his undoing. His men desert him, and Melisandre, realizing all is lost, flees to Castle Black.
Great.
Leaving Stannis to advance to Winterfell on his own.
Speak up. Can't be worse than mutiny.
He's had a rough old time, Stannis, hasn't he? Because really, he should be the king from after Robert Baratheon dies. Every battle he loses, he becomes further and further involved with this kind of fantasy.
And awaiting Stannis at Winterfell are the Boltons, who try to cement their position in the north with a tactical marriage to Sansa Stark. Orchestrated by master manipulator Peter Baelish.
She shouldn't trust Littlefinger. I mean, why are you going to trust Littlefinger? I mean, it's... Jeez. He is the dodgy car salesman in Game of Thrones. Offers you everything and gives you nothing.
May I introduce my son? Ramsay Bolton.
Now that the Boltons have kind of established themselves at Winterfell, bringing in a Stark will really solidify their position in the north.
But it's a huge miscalculation that traps her in another brutal relationship.
Ramsay is a horrible, cruel, evil, power-hungry man.
He took psychotic nature to another level. I mean, he went there and he went some.
Oh, no. You stay here, Reek. You watch.
Fellow prisoner Theon Greyjoy, aka Reek, is too terrified to help.
I think we all thought he should have stepped in on the wedding night, let's be frank.
With Ramsay distracted by battle,
You're leaving it to me.
Sansa is caught attempting to escape, and it's only then that Reek finds the courage to become Theon again.
Stop!
I think that was a moment that we all needed to see. Theon, again, had been so much at the mercy of Ramsay that finally he had a moment where he could do good.
And so, by the end of season 5, Sansa has jumped either to her death or to her freedom.
It's someone being pushed in every way to the absolute limit of their will to live. And having come through that, she's obviously going to be quite a different person.
As Sansa and Theon leap from the walls of Winterfell, nearby Stannis is facing defeat by the vast Bolton army.
I think Stannis had given up. I think even before they'd gone into battle, I think he was going there to die.
Fate finally catches up with Stannis when he comes face to face with Brienne of Tarth, who sought vengeance for Renly's death since season 2.
She is probably the toughest person going about Westeros.
But as Stannis bows out, Jon Snow comes up against a greater foe when he ventures to Hardhome to make peace with the wildlings. This alliance is sacrilege, but when the White Walkers launch a full attack, Jon sees his hunch is right. All humans must unite to fight them.
What's so great about the whole White Walker mythology is the way it has been building.
throughout the series.
Who knows what they want? They would bring death and destruction to absolutely everything. Up until this point, they've been semi-mythical characters. It's been the White Walkers in those cold lands that no one ever goes to. And here they are in front of the heroes, and they're very real. And it's a very real danger.
I don't think the White Walkers are afraid of anything. I think fear is just not in their vocabulary.
And then Jon and the viewers see the Night's King reveal that he has a greater power. He can raise and recruit the dead.
It's a challenge to Jon, and look what I can do.
Forget all the other battles that are going on. You know, battles for castles and kingship. You know, he's got to focus his army.
But on Jon's return to Castle Black, in the final minutes of season 5, viewers witness the cruelest blow of all in a gut-churning finale.
When I saw the cross with traitor written on it, I thought, oh, no, they're not going to kill him. And then they did.
For the watch. You root for him. But the great thing about Game of Thrones is your heroes can die at any second.
For the watch. They're all members of the Night's Watch, and no matter what one of their brothers has done, what they did was worse than what he did.
And so season 5 ends on betrayal and death. Is this really the end for Jon Snow? Only season 6 holds the answer after the break. Welcome back to The Story So Far, where season 6 begins at the scene of a crime. Jon Snow lies slain at Castle Black, and all hopes are pinned on the Red Priestess and her magic to bring him back.
Game of Thrones needs Jon Snow. We do. We need him to finish what he started.
As viewers hope for Jon's resurrection, we learn that Melisandre harbours a great secret.
The reveal of ancient Melisandre was definitely one of the most stunning surprises in season 6 of Game of Thrones.
It showed how much older she actually is and how much longer she's been believing in this god for.
Then we see her use this power for Jon.
She tries to bring him back, tries to resurrect him. It doesn't work.
When the wolf started to sort of make some noise, that's when I thought, I think everyone thought Jon Snow's alive.
And then it's just like that moment of just...
Jon Snow has returned and all the Westeros rejoices.
And after the miracle of Jon's rebirth comes a partial reunion of scattered Starks when Sansa arrives at Castle Black, and together they'll gather forces in a bid to retake the North.
Sansa's become majestic, but she's also become savvy. She's lost that naivety.
A monster has taken our home and our brother. We have to go back to Winterfell and save them both.
She's a queen, really.
In terms of being from a powerful family and being able to make decisions and tell other people to do stuff, I think she's going to tell other people to do stuff.
And across the sea in season 6, another young royal's in similar mood. Daenerys, who's been a hostage of the Dothraki, burns their leaders and converts the tribe.
With a huge Dothraki horde.
We're going to finally get a lot of different power factions coming together in a very scary, explosive way.
And she also gets a navy, forging an alliance with the Ironborn, who bring ships. But as great houses unite for war, beyond the wall we learn more about the deathly foe which threatens them all. While time training with a three-eyed raven, Bran Stark uncovers a great secret. White Walkers were created from the first men.
The Children of Forest invented the White Walkers to help protect their own race. It was an innocent defense to do that, but clearly it has gone out of control.
And when the White Walkers come for Bran, there are terrible casualties.
Hodor is a goner. completely pure act of protection. There was nothing, there was no greater goal to what he did other than protect Bran.
Everyone has basically just given in order to give way for Bran. And there must be a reason, right?
We know he's become the three-eyed raven.
But how is he going to use those powers?
And as the three-eyed raven, Bran resolves a great start secret when he sees Jon Snow's mother is Ned's sister, Lyanna.
You understand what Ned has been going through the whole time. He made out that it was his son, his bastard son, but it was really his nephew.
But it confirms Jon Snow is still half Stark, and in Season 6, he and Sansa march on their family seat of Winterfell to fight Ramsay Bolton, in what goes down in history as the Battle of the Bastards. Ramsay's now top dog, having murdered his father and newborn brother.
Now, if you want to save
You're going to die tomorrow, Lord Bolton.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, you know, and she knows it's about winning now. She's had enough of all the rest. It's time to win.
She offers her insight.
You think he's going to fall into your trap? He won't. He's the one who lays traps.
She's lived with this man for a long time, and she knows that he is cruel to the core.
Sansa's words go unheeded. Ramsay baits Jon with his hostage, Rickon.
Run to your brother.
It shows a lot about how Ramsay's mind works. He's calculating, he's always thinking about the next move. You know, it's very interesting how Machiavellian he can be as well.
Ramsay Bolton's like, yes, I've got you now, boy. Just in the middle of no man's land.
That's what Game of Thrones does so brilliantly, is it's constantly pitting good moral forces against bad ones, and you don't just win because you're good.
They were surrounded by the entire army. They were being driven into the mud.
Ramsay should have won. He was much more conniving, much more cunning. And if it hadn't have been for Sansa coming in at the last minute, then he probably would have won.
Now that Sansa has brought the cavalry, the Knights of the Vale, it's a done deal that the Starks are going home.
This was probably their first major victory in 6 years. They're suddenly inside the castle. Winterfell.
It seems Jon will kill Ramsay. But he then leaves Sansa to take the scalp.
There was only one way to kill him, and Sansa found the right way to do it.
She knows what she's going to do, and she knows he deserves it.
All memory of you will disappear.
If you were face to face with your nemesis and you had the opportunity, you take it.
She's hardcore.
She has the makings of a Cersei.
But it's Jon Snow who becomes king as the season ends, with the Starks controlling the north, and for now, Sansa is by his side.
She's a character that will surprise people, because she's not what she seems.
And neither is Sansa's sister, Arya. Blinded and stabbed in her training as a faceless man, she's now back in Westeros to deal with Walder Frey.
She's gone on this mad journey.
Arya comes in disguise, having chopped up Walder's sons.
They weren't easy to carve.
She wanted him to see who she was.
The face comes off and there's a knife.
The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
She's been caught up in it so young that she's turning into this child soldier.
Revenge is a dish best taken cold.
I literally cannot wait now for her and Cersei to face off.
In fact, Cersei elevates revenge to an art form in Season 6, as the Lannisters fight for their family's very survival. These royal lovers are united in grief after the Sand Snakes killed their daughter.
The Lannisters are all about power. They're all about revenge.
We're the only ones who matter, the only ones in this world. And everything they've taken from us, we're going to take back and more.
It doesn't matter how long it takes, they will get you back.
With Jaime sent away to fight revolt, Cersei is left alone to face judgment by the faith militant.
We are told that Cersei is going to turn up for a trial, but we know perfectly well she's not going to.
But it's now she plays a game-changing hand.
She was always going to have a dastardly plan.
The mountain was sent by Cersei to hold Tommen in that room.
There's something wrong.
Marjorie knows what's up in an instant.
The High Sept is packed with those who've wronged Cersei, the Tyrells, High Sparrow, and Faith Militant.
The amazing thing about Game of Thrones is the spectacle is always incredible, and you never know it's coming.
This isn't going to end well.
Cersei has, of course, unleashed wildfire.
She's wiped out this fantastic building. She's destroyed all her enemies.
That's what makes Cersei so brilliant. She's been to the absolute lowest place that you could possibly go, and she still comes out on top.
In the moment where she gets her revenge on everyone else, she loses the only thing that she has left that matters to her.
Knowing that his mum's the one that's pretty much murdered his wife. What has he got to live for?
Tommen's death leaves the Iron Throne empty, so a new reign begins.
A witch told her that she was cursed and that all of her children would die. It didn't stop her from loving her kids and trying to protect them at any cost. But she accepts very swiftly her fate.
And so Jaime returns to a new world order, courtesy of his sister.
She's devastated the Tyrells. Now the Lannisters are once more a force to be reckoned with. You've got Queen Cersei sitting on the Iron Throne.
I think it's good to see her on the throne because it really has been her who's been pushing the men. And so she should be there, rightly or wrongly.
As one queen takes the throne, another sets sail to challenge her for it. Finally, Daenerys, the Targaryen queen, is on her way to Westeros with a vast alliance she spent 6 seasons amassing.
We're now getting to crunch time.
As she comes to conquer the burning question for Season 7, who might join her now?
Absolutely everybody against the Lannisters, everyone against Cersei. Like, Cersei doesn't have a chance. But they'll fuck with us.
I do have this theory that the White Walkers will sit on the Iron Throne.
Just leave those dragons alone.
All right, you know what? Let's just get right into this. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of this panel, the writer and director of the upcoming Minecraft movie, as well as the creator of It's Always Sunny, Mr. Rob McElhenney.
That's good. This is the second time that I've had the pleasure of hosting a panel for Game of Thrones, and I've gotten the question asked a few times, why did they ask me? This doesn't seem analogous to the two shows themselves, and what you guys don't know is that I am actually a main character on Game of Thrones. I've shot a scene in every season, but unfortunately they continually cut me out. I think it's because my character points out one of the most irritating aspects of the show. However, HBO was kind enough to give me the footage, and I've cut together a small piece so you guys can take a look. Here it is.
Can your little birds get a message to the good masters of Astapor, the wise masters of Yonkai, and the benevolent? Tell me, can your little birds get a message to the good masters of Astapor, the wise masters of Yonkai, and the benevolent? Fuck me, guys.
I'm fucking Septum. What was I supposed to say? I don't believe in you, Seren. Bastard.
Tell me, can you little birds get a message to the good masters of Astapor, the wise masters of Yonkai, and the benevolent enslavers of...
Fucked up all of my Dothraki.
Can you little birds get a message to the good masters of Astapor, the wise masters of Yonkai, and the benevolent enslavers of... Fuck, I had it too. And the benevolent... Sorry, ready? Tell me. Fuck me. Benevolent. It sucks. The benevolent enslavers of... Fuck. And the good friends in Volantis.
No, these are... Oh, fucking hell!
Missandei. Missandei, right? Missandei. Melisandre. Missandei. David Benioff.
Peter!
What's up?
Because you've been such...
Step away!
Guess what?
They're adding me and giving me another line.
So I don't trust the benevolent enslavers of the last...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the creators of Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. Director Miguel Sapochnik. Liam Cunningham. John Bradley. Natalie Emanuel. Conleth Hill. Sophie Turner. Ewan Rion. Faye Marseille. Isaac Hempstead Wright.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
And finally, Christian Nairn. I'd like to start with the elephant in the room. It's been announced that next season will only be 7 episodes and will not air until the summer. So I guess my first question to David and Dan is, why do you hate us all so much? This seems personal.
Well, you know, I guess as Sophie said in that clip, winter is here, and we got to shoot in places where there are trees, and we got to wait for the leaves to fall off. So we're actually waiting to shoot later in the year, and that means we don't finish shooting till February. There's no way to finish post. There's no way to get the show out there until summer. So
that doesn't account for the 3 Sundays where I will have nothing to do at night. Can you walk me through that in front of 7,000 people and millions of people who are watching?
You can rewatch and start over at the beginning.
That's a good answer. So there's a plethora of human history to draw from, but is there any civilization or time period specifically that you guys draw the most amount of inspiration in terms of like quest for power, or even any kind of like Machiavellian real-life characters throughout history that you can think of specifically?
Well, I think the books are sort of built on a skeleton of medieval Western history, but one of the great things about fantasy is that you're not bound to what happened. So George, when he wrote his books, got to pick all the bits that he liked the most, and he got to skip the so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so part of history. You got to kind of paper over that. And he drew on Mongols, he drew on Native Americans, he drew on everything. He was very deeply read in world history, and and we get to do the same thing. I mean, that's one of the real joys of, we're kind of both history buffs, and we get to
recounting the violence of humanity.
Yeah, we get to just look at every awful thing that's happened in the world, not just one part of the world, and just cram it all into 10 hours, 7 hours rather, a season.
I just want to point out that Sophie Turner made us all do shots of vodka before we came out here. So
I'm 20. I didn't do any of that.
So our answers might not be as articulate as they should be.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Just trying to keep it complete sentences. If I can do a complete sentence, I know I'm still in shape.
Well, one of the things you guys just touched on was that that obviously you're drawing from source material, but season 6 was the first in which you would pass the books. So obviously next season will continue to do that. Can you talk a little bit about that process and working with George to achieve, and how much of it is his vision versus how much of it that you guys want to do with the show?
Yeah, well, some of it is still, it's still ultimately George's imagination that gave us these characters, that gave us this world. And 3 or 4 years ago, we were in Santa Fe talking to George, and he told us about where he was heading with the books, and that's when he told us the Hodor fate and the Hodor, where the name Hodor came from. And I just remember looking at Dan. It's George. It's George's fault. And I remember looking at Dan, and we were both so amazed and excited because it was so freaking cool. And one of the things that's brilliant about it is that this name, which has become almost a joke, people make jokes about Hodor, and then ultimately you realize where that name comes from, and it's suddenly a tragic turn, and that's so George R.R. Martin. So, hopefully we're still living out the spirit of George's imagination, and even though we're beyond the books, I think one thing that's fun is that George's books will be very different in some respects and the same in others, and I think hopefully both the series and the books will be surprising to people who are reading or watching or whatever it is. So, Sophie Turner, her fault.
Sorry.
Well, I'm glad you brought something up because obviously, sadly, we lost one of the most beloved characters of the season and in all of television.
I know. It's
Gentle.
tragic, isn't it? Yeah.
Ewan, how did you create such a lovable scamp? And what is it like to be America's sweetheart?
Sorry, what was that?
Why are you such a lovable scamp?
Thank you, Sophie. I don't know. I mean, I think the key was that when we were discussing the character before we even started shooting, that he had this kind of joy in everything that he does. So kind of he's enjoying this. He's on the best time of his life, and he loves doing all this stuff. And that, I think, it kind of made him a bit funnier, I suppose. So he's not just some psychopath that. That's just One Direction. He's got a bit more about him. He's not in One Direction.
Well, as an actor, obviously, you have to find something you love about the character that you're playing, or at least understand where he or she is coming from. So, where is Ramsay Bolton coming from?
I think, poor guy's had a tough upbringing. He's a bastard in the north, which is always difficult. And, he's just looking for his father's love and acceptance and recognition all his life. And, it's kind of, that's obviously, everyone can relate to that. And
Boo-hoo.
Thank you, Sophie. Apart from that, there's very, very little to like about him, I think.
Well, and obviously, we lost Hodor.
Hodor!
Thank you, guys.
Christian, can you talk a little bit about the fans' response and what that was like? I'm sure it must have been overwhelming.
Well, yeah, it has been overwhelming. I did not expect it to be so crazy. I'm really, really flattered as well. It's blown my mind. I was in LA a few days ago in a hotel, and all their doorsteps or doorstops said Hodor on them.
Wow.
I'm going, really? But yeah, it's been incredible. I didn't expect it. I mean, the scene was incredibly written and directed, and I knew it was going to be cool, but I didn't expect the outpouring of emotion. You're going to make me cry.
All right, let's see if we can make him cry.
Not really. Well, I apologize for that. I apologize for making you cry. Was it crying in a good way, at least? Okay, well, I've done my job then.
I'd like to do what the show is consistently doing, which is to transition from the sweet into blood. The episodes Battle of Bastards and The Winds of Winter are probably the two most astonishing episodes, not only of this show, but maybe any show ever.
Here, here.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of that has to do with the director, Miguel Sapochnik. So, speaking of the battle itself, obviously we could have a whole panel probably about those two episodes, but we have to limit it to a few questions. But speaking of the battle itself, I read that originally it was based on the Battle of Agincourt, which took place between the French and the English in 1415, but as needs changed, this is your quote, as did budgets, it became more like the Battle of Cannae between the Romans and Hannibal in 216. Can you talk a little bit about what you meant by that? What changed and how you changed it?
Blimey. Originally when we talked about it, the whole idea was to steep it in history. So they wanted a strategic, pitched battle. And so the Battle of Agincourt was, I believe it was the French and the English, wasn't it? French and the English fought it out on a field, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I might screw this up completely, the English attacked and the French encircled them and caught them in a pincer movement, a double envelopment, and once they had them in a pincer movement, they basically used archers to mow all these people down. And originally we were going to have a lot of horses, like 7 horses deep, and they were going to charge the horses and then actually surround the Allied troops and crush them with the horses. But the problem is, if you run horses at people, they don't like it. Like the first time they're all right, but the second time they're like, I don't really want to run at these people, and the third time they're like, I'm not going. So
I'm guessing the people don't like it either.
Well, sometimes. So the decision is that we weren't going to run horses at people, but instead we were going to run people at people. And then there was this other idea, which I always loved and was probably the first image that I imagined in my mind when I saw when I read the outline, which was this pile of bodies. And this was something Dave and Dan were really keen on, and something that actually we had a lot of kind of back and forth, because initially it felt like, where does this pile of bodies come from? And then the more research you did, you started realizing when everybody dies, they become a pile of bodies. And gradually this pile of bodies really gets in the way of you achieving anything on a battlefield. And in fact, in the Battle of, is it Cannae? Cannae. In the Battle of Cannae, what was happening is these heavily armored knights were going down into battle, and they were getting stuck between piles of bodies, of dead bodies, and they were becoming sitting ducks to then be picked off, which seemed horrible and a complete bummer to go out to battle and then, get your foot stuck somewhere and get picked off. So that seemed like a good way to approach the battle, which is what we did.
And in terms of budget constraints, did that have something to do with it, or was it just?
The not using horses definitely was a budget constraint. I think any time you do something this big, you always start with something that's bigger than you actually have the money to do. And then what you come up with is creative ways to turn that disadvantage into an advantage. So there's so many things. In Hard Home the year before, it was the same thing. In this one, one of the reasons that we decided to have the wall of shields that arises was because we didn't really have the money to see what was behind the wall of shields, because we would have had to stage all the fighting and dead bodies, etc., etc. We just didn't have the money to do it. Even when we were doing the body pile, we had 257 bodies, and that doesn't quite cover the body pile. So between setups, 10 people from the art department would basically run and move all the bodies to another place, and then move the bodies to another place. And it was all about trying to cover this big pile of chicken wire that we didn't have the money to cover.
Well, I saw that you're not on the list for directors this year, but we can expect you back next year?
I would very much hope so, yes.
Liam, I was wondering, just from an emotional standpoint, did you read the books?
No.
Were you aware, before you read the script, of the death of Shireen?
No. When I got the scripts the first time, you would have heard the clang of my jaw hitting the ground when I read it. And after I read it, that relationship was already there because we'd already filmed it. And to have her kind of removed from me, that relationship with Shireen was very easy. She's an absolutely gorgeous human being and a beautiful actress. And these guys keep taking the people I like working with away from me, which makes it difficult. But that was pretty tricky. Actually, I must tell you, there is a little story. The stag that I got, my daughter is in the audience here, by the way. Say hello to my daughter, please. So I liberated the stag, and my daughter has a wall of awesome at home. And I said, you need that after we finished filming. It hadn't been broadcast. And I said, you need to have that in your hand when we're watching the show. We all sit on the couch and watch it. What I didn't figure on, because I wasn't there for Shireen's demise, when the episode came on, I said, you need to have that again. And she'll tell you this. She had it in her hand. I hadn't seen it, and we sat down to watch it. And all of a sudden, my daughter was in a heap on the sofa as she watched my surrogate daughter, Shireen, getting burned to death while she held a stag that I had stolen from. And I felt like the worst dad in the world. It was appalling. It was an awful thing to do. So that's their fault, by the way.
Well, there's probably not a more lovable character in the show than Samwell Tarly.
Yeah.
I realized when he sees the library that he smiles. And you realize that nobody in this show ever smiles, except for maybe Cersei, but I don't know if that's a smile as much as it's like an involuntary muscle response to something evil that pleases her. But there's a certain sweetness about Samwell and the way that Jon plays him.
Not John. Samwell, yes. Jon, no.
And I think we can assume that David and Dan and the world of Game of Thrones hates sweetness, and that eventually you will be executed in some way. So I'm wondering if you could choose the way you will die. Now is your opportunity, and I think I'd like to hear it, and I'm sure they would as well.
How wonderful would it be, or kind of how the poetic justice of Sam has always been told that books are folly and they're to be dismissed, and nobody with any real common sense ever deals with books. He said, no, actually no. People who read books can do good in the world, they can do good for the greater good. Yeah, see, right? He's never been around this many books before. He's climbing up the bookshelf to get a particularly, artistic, but, book from the top shelf. Gets all the way up there, doesn't, severely underestimates his own weight, tipples backwards off the bookshelf and pulls all of those books down on top of it.
I'll direct that.
John, Miguel, you could direct this bit, right? We saw your work with Jon under the bodies in Battle of the Bastards. Imagine Sam trying to fight his way out of all the books that he's loved his whole life. And now, if he hadn't got what he wanted, he'd still be alive. It wasn't battle that killed him, it was books that killed him.
That seems like a win.
Oh, my God.
That seems like a win.
The show writes itself.
A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
So female empowerment, obviously a huge aspect of Season 6, but really, I believe, the series itself. And I think that no character personifies that more than Natalie Emmanuel's character, Missandei. Missandei. Everybody got a different pronunciation for that, I noticed. Missandei. Yes, Cersei and Dany, Brienne, Yara Greyjoy are women of strength, but so much of that comes from violence, or the threat thereof, whereas Missandei, a former slave who speaks 19 languages, offers something else. Compassion, intelligence, keen insight into the human condition, and in some ways, to me, it's the most impressive trajectory of anybody on the series. Can you speak a little bit to Missandei's role in the future of the Seven Kingdoms, as you see it?
It's hard to know what the future brings for her, but I think that she genuinely believes in Daenerys and her claim, and Daenerys has saved her life and liberated her and acknowledged her brilliance, because it's something that she also has, you know, these two women that sort of respect and lift each other up, and it's a really sweet friendship and I guess working relationship as well. So I kind of hope that Missandei continues to support Daenerys, and they sort of become, well, continue to be this sort of girl power couple.
Conleth, Varys has... No, I'm not going to stop you. That is luxurious.
Hasselhoff.
He has a seemingly endless array of spies, spy network. Obviously, he uses to his advantage. I'm wondering if you had such array of spies in your real life, what would you do? How would you use that power? For evil or for good?
Oh, for good. I despair of the world at the moment with everything that's going on, and I think we should all be heading towards inclusivity rather than exclusivity, and so I admire his approach, and I loved that this season you got to see him interrogate someone, and it probably wasn't what people expected, but that's just the way he works. So I like him, and most of the bad things are said about him by people who don't like him, which is a great example of the way the world works. But I think he's, so far, I mean, it could turn on its head, I've no idea. He could have been working for someone else the whole time, but it doesn't feel that way, certainly. And so I guess I'd use it for good.
It seems like you're having a ton of fun, and you're coming at it. So many of the scenes when we cut to you, they play comedically. In fact, when you watch the show, which I find really interesting, I've been to a few of the premieres, people laugh throughout the show, and it doesn't necessarily happen as often when you're sitting at home. But there's something about when you get together with the community and watch it, and I think a part of that, obviously, with Peter and with you, I'm wondering if you're doing that on purpose to bring a comedic bent to it, to bring a little bit of levity, or is it on the page, or is it something that
It's all on the page, and some of David and Dan's descriptions are hilarious, like, what, bitch, or something like that, you know. But no, it's just an exquisite script, and it's perfect when you get it, and you just go with it, and we're very grateful for that.
So are we.
Hey,
Sophie.
Hi.
You've had a big year.
I've had a what?
A big year.
Oh, right.
A big, brutal year. I should say Sansa has. First question that I think a lot of people would like to know, I certainly am one of them. Why didn't Sansa tell Jon about the Knights of Vale? That seems like important info.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Why do you think?
Too. Sansa didn't tell Jon because she wanted all the credit, and it was a more dramatic moment when she showed up, and it makes for really good television. Now, here's the question that I'm wanting to know. Why It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia didn't get an Emmy nomination?
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys have won...
What are you doing wrong?
We haven't done enough seasons. I think we're only on season 26. I'm guessing 27. You guys seem to know a lot of people at the Emmys, because you've all been there, but I have never been. I would go as one of your dates.
Well, you deserve to be there.
Yeah, here.
They're not here for me. Well, do you believe that Sansa believes that Jon is the best fit for the Iron Throne, or do you think she maybe believes that she is? Or someone else?
I don't know about the Iron Throne. I think Sansa, I think she believed it was probably more of a joint effort for, in terms of the Battle of the Bastards. She believes that they should both be king and queen of the North, for sure. I don't know about the Iron Throne. I'm not sure she's so keen on that anymore, but I'm not sure she believes that Jon is capable of running Winterfell in the North. I think she thinks he doesn't have the intellect, the knowledge, the experience that she has. And I concur. But she knows that he has wonderful morals, and that kind of those stark morals that, inevitably he'll make the right decisions, or the good decision, but whether it's going to benefit anyone is another story. Whatever, Jon. Over it.
Oftentimes when you see an actor try to play a badass on screen and they're not quite pulling it off, it just sort of takes you out of it. You sort of never believe that this dainty little actor is as tough as he or she actually looks in real life. That, however, is not the case with Faye Marseille, who pretty much channeled the Terminator better than Arnold Schwarzenegger did.
Stole that one, yep. Yeah, I was like doing a scene and I was running, and then I was sort of mid-scene and I realized that my arms were doing this, and I thought, yeah, I'll keep that, and did, and it went down pretty well, so yeah.
Well, so it was unbelievably authentic, and so do you have any background in martial arts, or are you just like a badass in real life? Or?
No, I'm quite a scaredy cat in real life. I'm quite nervous and shy, actually, so spending a month with Maisie Williams training like gets you in the mood, because she's really good, so you want to be like as good as her. She used to hit me all the time and just make me keep going. Come on, Marcy, come on. So I have a lot to thank Maisie for. So yeah, in real life, I mean, I quite like football, soccer over here, but that's about it. Yeah.
There's a lot of speculation that Arya and the Waif are in fact the same person.
Yeah.
Which would explain quite a bit. No one else seems to see her when she's beating up a blind girl in the middle of Bravos. Nobody seems to actually notice. What do you think?
I think the theory was a cool one. It would have been really cool. But I think Maisie's, I think Arya is Arya, and that's her journey. And I think, yeah, the way it is now is the best way. Like, the theory's good and it's creative, but I think they've got it right, the writers, yeah.
Hey, writers, are people reading into it too much, or?
Good answer.
That's fair.
Oh. That's me. Don't know why.
What was that? So Isaac Hempstead Wright, who plays Bran. Bran obviously got some pretty big info in the season finale, probably one of the biggest secrets in the history of the show. And your character is the only one that knows. And if there's anybody in this room who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you do not deserve to be here. And I'm just going to tell you, it would appear that Jon Snow is not, in fact, Ned's son at all. He is a Targaryen and therefore has a rightful claim to the throne. So what do you think Bran is going to do with that information?
Well, first of all, I don't think we know for sure whether it's a Targaryen. Dad, it could well be that there's an incest situation going on, like with the Lannisters and Ned and Lyanna. No, I'm kidding. Well, I think Bran knows that he's been shown this information for a reason. He might not know exactly why that is, but he knows for some reason it's imperative that he knows this and he spreads the word. But I presume somehow he'll tell Jon, but I don't know how Jon will take it when Bran turns up and says, by the way, I'm a tree wizard and your dad isn't your dad. Just
Tree wizard.
So you pretty much grew up on the show. You started when you were 11?
Yeah, Sophie and I both started when we were fairly young. And
what's it like to be internationally famous at that age? From 11 to 17.
I kind of... It's fun to be here, but you don't really notice it. I think you just kind of take it as it comes and enjoy what comes of it.
I have a question for everybody that I'd like to have everybody answer. It's a two-parter. One, I don't think you guys should answer, but we can start with Miguel. Who do you believe will win the Iron Throne, and who would you like to see on the Iron Throne?
Oh, that would be telling. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I would be very happy if they shared it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, the only hint that we have of this is Mr. George or Martin said that the ending would be bittersweet, which doesn't give too much away. But knowing the deranged minds that we're dealing with on this show, it could be anything. Listen, I hope I don't get this right. I have an image of a White Walker sitting on the throne with, but the Night King with his leg over the arm, sucking on a Cuban cigar. But what do I know?
Well, it comes to that, what do I know? It's tricky, isn't it, when people ask you, how do you think it's going to turn out? Because you think, what if I'm right?
Yeah.
Worse
That worries
than
me
being wrong.
too.
And then in 2 years' time, it flashes back to this, and John Bradley spoils it all for everyone. But I'd say, just out of pure blind loyalty, I'd say, John. Yeah. Just because that means that I may be in it till the end as well, and you know the way it goes.
As is Maester.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I have a similar motive, and I have to say Daenerys, because the loyalty thing. Because I think that, she's a good girl. She can be very ferocious, but she's generally, cares about people and wants to change things. So I think she'd make a good queen. But at the same time, I'm so excited about the Starks all sort of coming back together. So who knows? Who knows?
Pardon?
Good point.
Right,
Yes.
True.
I know, but I can't say.
I think I want Littlefinger on the throne. I just think it'd be...
What?
No!
Shame.
No, I just think it'd be fun. It'd be quirky, sadistic. We like that kind of thing. Come on, we all watch Game of Thrones. No? All right, leave it out, mate.
I think they should melt the thing down and have a democracy.
Can't really follow that one. Probably Arya, because if I don't say Maisie, she'll probably beat me up with a stick. So, Arya.
I think we should have a four-pronged Stark dream team. I think we can have Jon on the throne, Sansa advising, Arya beating people up, and Bran just sitting in the corner with the tree.
I think the throne's probably not going to be important by the end of the show. I think there's going to be a huge battle between the Night King and Daenerys, and I think Cersei's probably going to get flattened in between somewhere. But on the throne, I think Westeros, for once, deserves someone with honor and integrity, and I think Brienne would make a really good queen.
I think we're going to open it up to some questions out in the audience. I'm not sure where they are. Oh, there we go.
Spotlight.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
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 Wow.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm the button lady.
Really?
Why did they call you that?
Just came at me one day. My question's for Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Hi. You've had a really great year with this character. And I was just wondering, when you're reading the scripts at home or wherever you first read them, what scene really made you giggle to yourself when you were saying, oh, I can't wait to act the shit out of this?
Oh, it was 100% the Ramsay scene, sorry.
Fair enough.
I feel like it's what the past 5 seasons have been kind of building up to this, and I'm getting really distracted by the people behind you. I feel like it's been building up to this, and you know, her first kill, and I'm so glad it was Ramsay, and it was written so well. And someone actually quoted that to me the other day in a park. Someone was like, "Your house will disappear, your family will disappear," and I forgot that it was from the show. I thought they were cursing me or something. But anyway, I just loved the way it was written. It was wonderful, and I was very excited to do it with this little scrapper.
It was an honor to be killed by you.
Next.
Awesome.
This question is for Faye.
Awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Good eyes.
Wow.
Hi.
Oh, no.
Oh, you've gone.
Go ahead.
Correct, darling.
Somebody turn on the volume.
It's on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. A girl would like to know.
Oh, no.
What was the favorite part of training for your fight scenes?
I guess they were kind of choreographed like dances. And so we spent like a month in Northern Ireland doing that. And I remember one day where Maisie and me were really... No, actually, this was after filming. So after we'd filmed episode 5, we spent all day doing that, and it was so much fun. But me and Maisie were hitting each other a lot. By the end of the day, we were so tired that I went back to my hotel room and fell asleep face down in a plate of salmon. So even though it was a good day, I woke up like this. And I looked in the mirror and was like, man, that was, it was a tough day. So yeah, that probably that day, because we were both really tired, but we had like a lot of fun, yeah. Salmon face, awesome. Shouldn't have said that.
Hi.
Hi. Oh. Hi, Natalie, and the rest of the cast. Hi.
Oh.
This question is actually for Sophie.
Oh.
Okay. So.
Tease.
Basically, so Jon Snow and Sansa aren't really brother and sister, and
Don't ask me this.
she likes redheads,
Don't
right?
build it.
So I was wondering.
She likes redheads?
No, he likes redheads. So I don't know what she likes. I don't know. But I was wondering, like, what kind of issues you think it could cause that.
Deformed ones.
Sophie.
They're not really brother
All
and sister.
right, here we go. Let's get the party started. Jon likes redheads, he does. But Sansa and Jon have grown up together. They may as well be siblings. They have that sibling rivalry. I don't know, but I swear to God, David and Dan, if you make anything happen, I'm going to kill you. I don't want to take
It
part.
hadn't occurred to us, but thank you.
Nothing will happen.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. So Benjamin Cold Hands is back.
Yeah, good one.
I'd like to ask the panel if there are any great stories, funny, that they'd like to share during the production this season.
Oh.
I'm sure there's so many.
Kit farted a lot.
Exclusive.
That's it.
Cracker.
Where's the vodka?
Hi there. My name is Nicole, and I just wanted to ask Bran a question. I just wanted to ask you how you felt when you found out about when you had the vision of Jon Snow being born. Like, what I mean, was it like an eye opener for you, and it made everything make sense, or was it just something that made you more confused?
Well, because the Tower of Joy stuff was split into kind of two scenes, one earlier in the season and one later in the season. And so when I first read it, my immediate thought was, I'm going to Spain, so I'm going somewhere warm rather than Northern Ireland. I'll be honest. Then I actually read it. I suppose overall it's a very interesting kind of arc, everything that happens within the Tower of Joy. And I wasn't actually aware of the whole I knew about R plus L equals J and so forth, but the Tower of Joy I hadn't actually come across. I read up on it and found all the theories. So it was really cool to just be able to read it, let alone actually have involvement in the scene. And I think that was what was so cool about Bran's visions, was that it wasn't just the audience watching a flashback or something happen, it was the audience getting to watch another character react to this kind of rich history of Westeros. So for me personally, yeah, it kind of, it was nice to see it all click together.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi. So my question's for the executive producers, and at the beginning of season 6, you guys had a lot of different character storylines, so I was wondering how you were dividing those characters into different episodes.
Dan?
Well, we go through an outlining process, which I won't get into, because talking about note cards on a corkboard is not what you guys waited in line to hear. But it's a long, it's the grunt work. It's how you actually figure out who goes where when. And David and I and Brian Cogman and Dave Hill, the other 2 writers in the show, will sit down for several weeks and just sit in the office and bat ideas around and put those ideas on a board. It's just kind of like it happens slowly with, it's not very, it's the least exciting part, but for us, it's the most exciting part, because it's when we actually get to see the season taking shape for us.
Hi.
Hi. My question is for Sophie. Since the beginning of the series, Sansa has made like a complete transformation. She's almost like a new character. How do you think that transformation is going to continue, and where do you think she's going to end up?
Wow, that's a really good question, because I genuinely have no idea. I feel like they could take her in so many directions. I mean, she's really become kind of a leader in her own right, but there's also that sense after she had that scene where she killed Ramsay, you wonder if she's kind of got a taste for killing. I mean, Miguel.
Vodka.
Michelle and I discussed that scene extensively, and we really wanted to kind of accentuate that. What do you say? Don't break Conrad. We really wanted to kind of accentuate that kind of look back where she almost walks away and then she looks back in to the kennels with this kind of passion for it and this real intrigue and I don't know. We really tried hard.
We spent a long time messing around with that scene when we were actually shooting it, because it seemed there's such a wish fulfillment aspect to it. That's the thing that everybody has been waiting to see for quite some time, and that she's been waiting for. And we needed to milk it, but not too much. And we also needed to remain slightly ambiguous about what her feelings were about it. But I think one of the things that clinched it is when there's a close-up of Sophie and she goes to leave, and then she kind of pauses, and then she gets drawn back into it, just as you're hearing Ewan scream like a pig.
So yes, in answer to your question, I honestly have no idea if she's gonna become a real leader and do the right thing and be a true Stark, or if she's gonna go completely sadistic, or who knows? We'll soon find out. Watch season 7, it's gonna be great.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Tyrion, and I have a question for all of the females up there. How does it feel to be such strong women in the show, and does it kind of affect your lives outside of it?
Iwan, how does it feel?
Well, personally, for me, anyway.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's a really short answer. It's really, it's empowering and it's awesome, and especially with the way she gets to do so much cool stuff. Like, it's wicked, you know? It's really cool. So I feel very lucky to have played a badass, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel really proud to be playing such a strong woman in the show. I think Missandei's had such an interesting, where she began, and like just her evolution as a human being has been really fun to play, and like her intelligence and her fierceness, even though it's quite quiet, she's had quite a lot to overcome, and she's really persevered. And I've definitely enjoyed people's response to her, because people have come up to me before and said really wonderful things about it, and I feel really pleased that people respond to her and feel connected to her and her quiet but kind of strong. She's strong in a very quiet way, so people like that, and I'm happy that people like that. So.
Hi.
Hey guys, I'm a really big fan, by the way. I'd love to say hi.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask how your character / experience with the show has impacted your life.
Life-changing, I would say, for me. Definitely. I'd never been to California until 2 years ago, and I'd never been paid this much in my life to have such a good time and on such an excellent piece of work. It sort of spoils you for everything else, because nothing else lives up to the production values, and just because we've been working for so long together, every department works together so brilliantly, and it's just been an amazing experience, and I wouldn't swap it for the world. Mm.
I think we have time for one more question. Wait, let's make it 2. Just because you're already...
Red Priestess.
Hi, my name is Sky, and my question is for Christian. Seeing as he died so heroically for Bran, I was wondering if there's anything he would say to Bran, if he could express anything more than Hodor.
Thanks.
Hold your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been asked that question before. That what would the first word you would say to Bran if Hodor could suddenly speak? And it would definitely be no. So it's going to be like, hey, Hodor, carry me to that tree. No. No, I'm sorry. I think Hodor would be happy the way he died. I think he would be. I think he enjoyed protecting and looking after, as I did with Isaac here for the last 6 years, and I'm going to miss him. So I'll never get rid of him, though. Really, I'll never get rid of you, really.
No, I'm in it for the long run.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hello. Hi, my name's Heidi. I was here last year. I had
remember.
Daenerys with me.
Yeah.
We asked about the rape culture. Yeah. Last season was amazing. The payoff was incredible. The women kicked butt this season. And I'm very excited about the upcoming Cersei Dany Smackdown. So can you tell us a little bit about what we might expect from their inevitable meeting?
Sure.
David, Dan?
Yeah, this is
Can
definitely
you tell
your
us
question.
anything?
Liam? Yeah, there's going to be a list of exclusives now. You're lucky you're here. Off you go, guys.
We don't know.
Maybe they'll just get on really well.
Yeah.
Be like, we're like, hey, girl.
Yeah.
We're both strong women.
I love your hair.
This is actually a pretty good transition, because we happen to have some exclusive video for the upcoming season. Would anybody like to see it? That was pathetic. We're talking about exclusive video for the upcoming season 7 of Game of Thrones. Would anyone like to see it? Can we roll that, please?
Cersei of the House Lannister, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Protector of the Seven Kingdoms. Long may she reign. Long may she reign.
Shame. Shame.
Your house will disappear. All memory of you will disappear.
You can't kill me. I'm part of you now.
Welcome home, my queen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the cast and crew and creators of the greatest show in the history of television, Game of Thrones. Thank you. That's it.
We're getting up. We're going. We're off.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it again for our crew and cast and executive team of Game of Thrones and our special guest moderator, Rob McElhaney.
Can your little birds get a message?